There's, I don't know, can you hear anything in the background, people? Yeah, my wife is chewing out my 7-year-old. He's being a pain in the butt. Anyway, we are here. Exactly. All right, so we're back, and this is session 10 of the Work the Web training program, the community training program. We are trying out a different solution, uh, and yes, exactly. We are doing a different type of screen sharing where my participants, and there are a few of them here, can draw on my screen, which they do very happy. I can actually turn this feature off if you misuse that, but you can all just say hello if you want uh, in on my screen. That's the spirit. Fortunately, it all fades away after a few seconds. Anyway, last time around I got into some technical issues, and I couldn't really uh, do the demo part of that session, which was to. Är det dags att sova?
Nej, jag och mamma ska gå upp och kolla på agenterna.
Okej, alright. Puss puss gubbisen. Är du snäll mot mamma nu eller? Är du snäll mot mamma? Det är bra, puss. Hej då. Alright, sorry. So if you want to see me kissing my son, Twitch is the thing, because in this particular setting I cannot both share my video and my screen, so the smooching was off camera for you guys. So anyway, I couldn't really do the demo part last time around, so we will be doing that today. We went over some theory uh, with application state and Redux, and it will be time for us today to deal with going through the demo. But before we go on and do that, uh, I would like to talk a little bit about the project and the status of the project. And Carl, you just raised your hand. You want to start perhaps talking about the project? Right. And who said that? Daniel. Okay, I did send that. I did send Daniel the link directly in the chat, and I can't really see anything in the. Yeah, could you just ping him and just try to ask him to click on the link that I sent to him in the private message? Is that okay, Carl? All right, thank you. Anya and Tassilo, you guys have been working away. Could you give us an update on where we stand on the project at this point? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Awesome, awesome. Carmen, is it okay if you mute yourself for a second? There's a little bit of background noise coming from, I think. Not sure about. Yeah, thank you very much. Uh, that sounds awesome, Anya. Yes, Pedro is lying belly up on a beach somewhere, um, and I am, of course, a bit envy, but that's life, I guess. No, I'm kidding. I He's worth it, probably. He is worth it. He just finished his thesis, or no, he didn't. He postpone his thesis or something like that. Yeah. Oh, not for the vacation though. Must been for us, I guess. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Okay. Let's say that. Let's say that. Uh, I have a suggestion, and I know that we discussed this in your stream today a little bit, at least in chat. I think that one good thing for us would be to add a translation, internationalization of the application's user interface, so that we can have this application in both Icelandic, no, in English and in German at least. Uh, what do you guys think about that idea? All right, me too, Carmen. Of course, of course. Uh, so we can go to ZenHub, I guess. ZenHub. That's the one. And we could create a feature request here in the product backlog, and translate or localize UI, and we can submit this, and then right. So now I need to open this. No, can I double click this? Yes, I can double click. Okay, so let's see. I'm totally new at ZenHub, but there are some labels, and that would be this would be an epic, probably in the beginning, because this will consist of many stories, I assume. So I'm going to add a user story here. I'm going to use Markdown, and I will say as a system owner, perhaps, in order to make the application um, in make to make the application come on, the application more accessible, perhaps. I would like to be able to add translations to the to all uh, to all strings used in the app or in the interface user interface, right? To all content, perhaps strings, some sort of content on content on the user interface, right? So that will look something like this, right? And so the reason I added this as an epic, uh, labels, right? I don't know how that. Uh, I don't really know how that works. So Anya and Tassilo, you guys were doing a lot of additions to this ZenHub. Um, Okay. Oh, okay, okay, okay. So now, okay, okay. So this is an epic apparently now because I just transferred this to an epic. Uh, I got you. Localize you, right? Why isn't this? Oh, there it is. Okay. Now I can see that. All right. So now I can say as a chore. Now I will. This is an epic, right? Okay. So I will add a chore, and that would be add translation. Not. It's actually a feature. Translation to the. Is there like a landing page, like a main thing that the user sees when they access the app for the first time? Is there like a welcoming message? Okay, all right. So we're just gonna we can say something to the info dialog, right? Add translation to the info dialog. So because it's in German now, right? And we want to have it in both German or English depending on stuff. Uh, right. So where is that now? Where does it go when I just add it? Where does it go? Oh, there it is. Oh, it takes a while for it to show up. So here it is. Uh, we could write a story that goes like this, in my opinion, but we can talk about it. Let me draft this first, and I will hear your opinions on this. As a user, uh, in order to fully to be able to fully understand what's going on. No, understand. No, to fully use the application, to fully to fully understand the application's content. I would the application the content of the application. All right. I would like the UI to reflect to be to to present English content if my default browser language is not German. Do you know what I'm saying here? I'm saying that if a user visits this application with, or this is an idea at least, with a browser that has that doesn't have German as a default language, then the application automatically switches to English. How does that sound? Okay. Uh, do you guys know how to detect that, by the way? I will interpret the silence as no. So here's the deal. Pay attention. I'm entering my coach mode. Uh, somebody said something? No? No. All right. So if you have your developer tools open um, on your browser, then you can access the console, right? You can access uh, the JavaScript interpreter, and it often comes with a lot of nonsense. So you can clear this, and in there you can say something like window, let's say navigator, there is a navigator object in here, and the navigator object contains the all the information about your browser, your user's browser or your browser, whatever, right? And so, as you can see, there is an attribute here, or two attributes, one that is called language and the other one that is called languages. I can access this like this: navigator language. And in my case, navigator language says en-gb, so it means British English, right? And the languages that are available on my browser are British English, US English, just English, and then S and V, that stands for Swedish. And if you would do the same thing on your browsers, you would probably see a different set of available languages. And we can use that when we code our applications. So we could ask programmatically, what languages do you have available, or what is your default language set to? If it's set to ENBG, or if it contains EN, then we just say let's use it for in English. And if it says something else like DE, probably in your case, then we would use German. Does that make sense? Did you run this, anyone of you? Yes. And what did it say for you, Carmen? All right. And Anya, did you run it? Hmm? No, no DE? Really? And who just said EN and DE? That's, I missed who was writing. Was German and English, right? And Castras, what did you get? Norwegian? Icelandic? Okay, right. This is good for us, right? Because then we can tap into this, and we can make decisions on you know on what language we want to display. So we could just say that the navigator object can reveal what language setting our visitors have. So based on that, we can make the decision visitors has or have well visitor has actually has I think, yeah. Based on that, we can make a decision on the UI language, right? So this is how I usually you know describe a feature. I always include this format, this user story, which is a specific context. We spoke about this at some point, as a stakeholder, in order to you know achieve some sort of a business value. uh, then what is it I would like to do? And in this case, I would like the application to detect what language I have. So there we go. And now we have that described. I can close the dev tools like this. Yeah, go ahead. Yeah, yeah. That's my idea. Until we go Chinese and Icelandic, right? That would be easy with I18N. Yeah. And so I think, do you guys know why it is called I18N? Okay. Yes, exactly. Because it stands for internationalization, which is a very hard word to pronounce, in my opinion. And internationalization. Anyway, so yes, so it starts with an I, then there are 18 other letters, and then there's the letter N. So I-18N. It's easier to say than internationalization. I don't even know if I'm saying this. Could Carl, you want to say it like fast 3 times? I am impressed. You're much better on this than me. Carmen, would you like to say it really fast 3 times? Close, but not really that. Anya, do you want to give it a shot? You're the linguistic guru here. Oh, oh, you stumbled. You stumbled. All right. Oh, are we still there? Haven't you celebrated enough? No. Okay, another. No, it is not. It is not. Salute, of course, and again, I've yeah, exactly. I have a picture of vodka here. Well, you can't see it, but it's visible on Twitch. Anyway, all right. So the thing is, I think that the product backlog is, again, it's a wish list of stuff that we want to work on, and in order to actually start working on them, you first need to move them to the sprint backlog, and then whoever picks up this story to add translation to the info dialog would, and we're not really done describing it yet, but when we are, that would be moved over to the in progress column, right? Uh, so that's how we want to work with this Zen Hub thing. So um, creating those things in issues on GitHub is one thing that's perfectly fine. Um, but I think that we need to start using Zen Hub if we want to work with every story properly. Does that make sense, people? It does. You can write. You don't have to talk. Yeah. Let's see. Can I write? Can I draw? Yay. Yeah. Move it from here to here. Are you? What is that? Oh, that's a. Is that a star? Oh, that's good. Okay. Yes. I don't want to know what that was. Yeah, good, good. Thanks, thanks. Yep, yep. I love this. I think this is great with drawing this thing. I think we're gonna go with that. And actually, just as a thing, you haven't heard me swear once because it looks like my computer is actually liking this. I am on 52% capacity with a lot of RAM still available, and it's a world of difference in terms of what we had to deal with last time, for instance. So I'm happy with this. All right. What else do we need to talk about in terms of the project at this point, or can I go on with my other stuff?
Flow that I will have to go through or Pedro will have to go through, or or whether there is some people who could already like focus on bulk testing, so to say, a little bit the app. I was just wondering if that makes any sense at all,
Yeah,
or
that does make sense. It's a good question because what you and Tassilo picked up today is a specific issue, right?
yeah,
That needs to be fixed, and
yeah,
that's a very good start. but uh, I think that just picking up something that works and that doesn't need to be changed and cover it in tests is also a good strategy. Um,
Okay.
so I would actually say that, but we need to be all in agreement. So not, we can't
Yeah.
just have a free for all, like, oh, I'm gonna pick this and then somebody else picks that as well. So we
Mm.
probably need to spend some time, um, you know, testing certain, or at least defining what on a weekly basis, for instance, like this week we're going to focus on this particular piece of functionality, and or choose two or three, and write some feature tests for that.
That sounds awesome. Okay. Yeah, because otherwise my intuition would have just said that someone like Tassilo, for instance, should be still in the loop of everything that's happening, so as to make sure that people don't start and actually kind of overlap something that's being done.
Exactly.
But yeah, okay.
Mm. Carmen, go ahead.
Yeah, I was actually gonna say that would be the best way for me at least to just go into functionalities and then write a test around that, just so I can understand how the code works and how it's been built. Um, and I was gonna do that, and so I was wondering, should I write tickets, or how are we gonna call that? Ticket stories? I don't know. Should I
Tickets, yeah,
write
tickets is
stories?
the right,
Ticket.
yeah, yeah.
Okay. So should I write tickets for those, or how would I do that? Like,
and that's really good. Thank you for saying the word ticket, because let's drop the word issues, because
oh, thank you so much.
yeah, that's really good, because
I want to say story or tickets. No issues
yeah,
because yeah.
yeah, exactly. A story or a ticket is actually the best word. Like, and ticket is actually better than story, because a story is more of a feature. So, like,
Okay.
so I would say ticket is, because a ticket could be a chore, it could be a feature, it could be a bug or what have you, right? But definitely we can use the word ticket, uh, and uh, and yes, we need to. You need to, if you want to cover something in tests, it will be a ticket of a type of a variant chore, because if you only test certain things and you don't add any new functionality, that is not a feature per se by definition. It's a chore, and so we add that, and you put it in the sprint backlog. If you start to work on it directly, you just put it in the sprint backlog, and then as soon as you actually start working on it, you just move it to in progress, if that makes sense. Um,
Thank you. Yes, it
good
does make
stuff.
sense. Thanks.
Carl, you raised your hand as well.
There was a related question with like the question, who knows who's working what tests? I mean, that I assume was what ZenHub is for, where you create a ticket first
Hmm.
and then you assign yourself, and then everyone knows, okay, this person is working on that thing.
Yeah, yeah. I think we can start with that, and 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 as soon I think we need to go through, the first phase where everyone feels comfortable with actually coding on this, and we get the PR process under control and so on. But then we need a weekly meeting, uh, and it could be a half an hour or 45 minutes, what have you, where we go over the product backlog, and we say that this week or this 2 weeks or whatever time frame we choose, we will focus on a few uh, a few features or a few tickets, and so on, and we actually move them to the sprint backlog, and they will be able to be picked up by any developer in the team, and then that, we all try to get into the habit of actually moving them from one column to another, right? And that will of course trigger a need for discussion and clarification on when to move them and how to do these things. But I think that we can deal with that on a need to know basis. How does that sound, people?
Yeah, good. I've moved mine into in progress already to trigger debate.
That's good. Why don't I see it? Why doesn't it upload? Let's see if I can upload my page. I want to see it in the in progress. Uh, come on. Why don't I see it in the in progress column, Anya?
It's secret.
It's secret.
No, I'm kidding. I don't know. Wait, I will double check.
But you did move it, right?
Actually, yes, it shows in progress. I'll just update mine to make sure. Oh, it's been reset for some reason, so it doesn't want me to.
Because I think you need to move it first to the sprint backlog and then to in progress.
Ah,
I'm not sure. Could be something like that.
okay. Oh yeah, it's when I do it directly in, or do I have to put it in product backlog first? So let's see. I'll put it into the sprint
Well, now I
backlog.
see it in the sprint,
Okay.
and now if you move it,
Okay. And now if I move it to the next,
and now
let's
it's updated. Awesome. Okay, so there is.
see. Oh, okay.
Right. Thanks for telling us, ZenHub. I mean, that doesn't come across anywhere, but okay. Um, right. Um, okay, so that's great. And then all in all, we can just start moving things. So I would say that we don't even need to have these new issues. Everything could be put into the product backlog. I don't think we, or perhaps it's good to have new. I don't know. There's a lot of columns here that I think this is a little too much, but I'm not sure. Yeah, we can live with that. All right, guys, I have a confession to make. I missed for the first 25 minutes. Your sound was not working, so the recording tomorrow will be a bit boring, Anya, if you're gonna watch this. But you can fast forward, right?
Oh, it's probably better like that.
Yeah, I missed that again. Anyway, anything else on the project or?
Just one semantic question, I guess. Again, I was just wondering, preps. No, sorry. So, props
Hmm?
in React. So, I was just wondering if props are only the properties more or less that are being passed on from a, let's say, mother component to a child component, etc., or also the basically what we have in the store and state management. And it was just to make sure.
Right. No. Props are being passed down
Okay,
from
so
another
that's
component, and the store is being is well. Oh shit. Okay, I'm gonna take that back. I'm gonna take it back. In class components, there is a function that you use that is called map state to props. So when you subscribe to certain parts of the state, you actually put it in props in class
no.
components. Uh, but that's the old way. In the new way, it's just it just becomes local variables. So you don't have the props. You don't use it. You don't use props for that in functional components using hooks. But in the case of this project, you do that. Let's see. We can just call here. Let's see if Tesla used that map state.
I use it like almost everywhere.
Yeah, yeah. Then the no. Well, we can just take any. Yeah. So the answer is yes, actually. Yeah. Let's say yes. It shouldn't be. Once we move forward with the refactorings, then you probably don't gonna use that intros.js legal. I don't. Where are the components? Is this a component? This post stream, is that a component?
Yeah, that's one. Post Scream is a good example.
Right. Right. Uh, and now my computer is not happy anymore. Why is that? Is that because I know what it could be? I think I just figured out why my computer is acting up. It's the sound sharing. Because as soon as I started to share your sound, people, with on Twitch, that thing just climbed up to 70 or 60%. Do you see that? Well, you don't. Well, you can see it.
Ouch.
Yeah, it must be something like that. I don't know. Let's see. That's a huge ass component, Asilo. Uh,
Yeah,
right.
one of the first I actually tried to refactor already, but I got stuck because I couldn't.
Uh,
But
exactly. So here we have this map state to props. So with this function on line 1151, what you do is that you take this UI component and the user component, or user part of the state, and place it in props dot. I think it's called props.state.ui, I guess, in this case, something like that. Right. Uh, right. That was a lot of things here. This one
So
will be a
so
bit.
props.state.ui. I
Yeah.
mean, we've seen it a couple of times, but that's something different rather than Redux.
That's
Or
props.
is it?
No, it's next props UI errors. Right. Let's see. Uh, you know what? Props project data. Uh, I think it's called props.state. Actually, you see, it was a wrong while since I used um, this, but I'm gonna actually cover this in my demo if I get to start soon.
Yeah. Okay. So start. Sorry. Sorry about that.
No, oh, it's okay. You know, you're on your honeymoon, so you can ask me anything. Uh, right. Yeah. Let's get started. Right. So we did this. So we have this first React app. Okay. So I'm just gonna open this up in code, and this will be the continuation of this as basic as it gets, right? Talk.
one thing, sorry, I guess I have to leave you guys because my battery is about to die, but I'm gonna rewatch the rest tomorrow. And
All right, no problems.
yeah, see you soon. Thank you
Thank
so
you
much.
very much for today. Um,
Yes, thank you.
thank you. Um, bye. Take care.
Bye. Bye.
So long. Okay. Um, so uh, before my computer totally dies on me, because I think that, let's see, where are we now? 52 in 72%. God damn it. God damn it. Okay, so I'm gonna turn off your sound for a while, okay, and just see if that is the case. I mean, for Twitch, because we can't really have it this way, can we? Hold on a second. 79%. That's awful. So I will just repeat your input. If you ask me a question or anything, I will just repeat that for the others and not aggregate device. Right, there we go. Okay. And now I will just, oh, now I'm now 90%. You see that? It's fucking awful. Right. Okay. Sure. Come on. Oh my god. Okay, let's just go on with this. Set message. Sorry. There we go. Right. Okay. So let's see if we can get this thing to work. So actually, you know what? Let's continue with this one. I was thinking about creating a totally new application, but it doesn't really matter. We do have an app component that is written as functional component, and then we have another one that is called classic app that is using uh, a class component, and it's doing the same thing. We covered this in the last demo. We deliberately created two components that are pretty much they are exactly the same, but one is the more traditional uh, class component, and the other one is the functional component, which is a good thing for us, right? So we also know that if you want to display something that is set in state, then you have to use this syntax, this state message, right? So if the message is set to anything, then that will be displayed on the screen. Now we want to move away from setting this component state, but rather use application state to deal with these with this data, basically. So in order to do that, we need to install a little bit of dependencies, and the two main dependencies are Redux and another library that is called the React Redux. So Redux is the actual Redux library, and React Redux is the library that bridges Redux between your application, builds a bridge between Redux and your application. So we need to install both of them in order to be able to use that. And then there is a little bit of configuration that we need to do, unfortunately. Even though we would like to avoid that, we need to install a few things. Right, it's a little better. I don't know if that is the case. I'm actually gonna turn off Slack as well. No, I can't. Oh shit! I just turned off Slack because I'm stupid. I was in the call with these people on Slack. What's wrong with me? Oh my god. Oh, I feel so stupid. Really feel stupid. Oh, Thomas. Oh, Carl, I thought you were supposed to leave. Um, uh, let's see. Let's see. Come on. Reload. Yes, I know. I will restart this in just a second. I am stupid, or something is completely wrong with me. Uh, I will be with you in just a second. Hold on a second. Yes, I'm back. I I there's something really wrong with me. Okay, like I'm stupid or something. I was like, let's turn off Slack, and I was like, but the second I clicked on the button, I was like, no, don't do that. Oh God damn it! I don't know. I really don't know what's wrong with me. Oh gosh. Uh, yeah. I don't. I managed to live for 50 years, and yes, exactly. Survive. Thank you, thank you. Actually, I'm planning my 50th birthday. Um, so while this is installing, I don't know why this is taking so long. I can show you where I will be having my party. Salong. Let's see if we can find that. Right, this is the venue where I will be having my. Can you see my screen? Yes, you can. Right? You can. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So this is the Gothenburg Masonic Society, and this ballroom. Uh, I will not have that many guests, so that's not going to happen. It's probably going to look more like this. But that's where we're gonna be standing, and hopefully I'm trying to get my wife to sing a few songs for me. I'm hiring a piano player, but she's a bit hard to convince to do that. But that's gonna be the room, and this is the foyer in front of that room, and it's a palace, and I think it's a good place for me to to celebrate my birthday, isn't it? Yeah. It will come. It will come. Uh, if you're in Gothenburg, my brother, you will definitely be welcomed. Of course. It's not that far. How far away from Gothenburg are you? Oh, well, nothing, right? You can do that. Are you a Mason too? Okay. Yeah, the Icelandic lodges are they fall under the same jurisdiction as ours. It's the Scandinavian, the Swedish Rite, as it's called. Anyway, let's move on before you guys start to think that I'm a part of the worldwide conspiracy to take over the world or something. And I'm not. I'm not. I just want to say that. Yes, and the side of coding. That's what it is. Right. That's what these guys are doing here. Yes, these gentlemen. I actually know these. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, but it is beautiful. I've been there many times. It's a fantastic venue. You know, it's really nice. This is they do weddings there and stuff like that. Uh, so this is really nice. I'm so. It is. It is. Think big, be big. That's what they say, right? And that's why I was thinking that my 50th birthday would be good. Look, I don't know, guys. There's something majorly wrong with this demo. It just won't fly. It's the second time I'm trying to run this demo, and I just can't do it for some reason. Um, so I think you will go down without. Yes. You will never learn about Redux, or have to uh, you will have to watch another recording because this will simply not work. What a disaster. Yeah, I know. But there is this demo from May. It wasn't that bad, was it, Anya? Yeah. Right. Right. So anyway, this worked now. So let's move on with this thing. Okay. So basically, what we need to do is to create a few folders and and subfolders. And what I will do now will differ a little bit from Tassilo's setup, probably, because because everyone does it differently, right? There is no convention around these things. So what I usually do is that I create a file called state, actually source state, and then inside of that I will create another folder that I will call reducers, and then another folder that I will call store. And then I will say, instead of mkdir, I will say touch. And so in the reducers, so source state reducers, I will create a file that I will call root reducer.js. And then I will touch another file in source state, but this time in store, that I will call initial state. And then another one that in that particular folder that I will call configure store.js, configure store. And there are again multiple ways of doing this. This is one of the ways. Now I will go over to my newly created state subfolder inside of source, and I will go to the store folder and open up the initial state file. And here I will create a constant and I will call it initial state, and that will be an object, just an object. And in that object I will say we're going to do a little bit of hello world. So I will say greeting, and I will say hello world. Really. Yeah, hello world. Hello world. And then I will just export this. So default export, or sorry, export default. And that will be the initial state. That's what I need to export from this file. And so this will just be a simple JavaScript object holding one property, and the value of that property will be hello world. Nothing fancy about that. Okay. Then I will go into the configures, into the root reducer. Let's go to the root reducer. And here I want to import this state. So I'm going to say const, no, sorry, I want to say import initial state from store initial state, like this. And then I want to create a, 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 like a function, but no, like well, it's going to be a constant, and that I will call root reducer. And if you remember my talk about that, that needs to take at least the state object, and we will set that state to the initial state that we just imported. And the other thing it will take is the action, but we don't have that action yet, so we don't have to create that at this point. So it will be a function. So we do this, and the only thing we will do at this stage is to return whatever state we have, and we will have one because we are setting this state to the initial state. So this will automatically contain this greeting that I created in this initial state file. That is the very basic setup, and I will just say export default, and here we will say root reducer. No, export default reducer, right, like this. Okay. Yep. Because I did actually sorry my formatter adds it. So if I format my file, it is automatically added for me. So it's prettier that does it. And prettier is configured like this. I actually was confused about this as well at some point. The question was why I have a comma. So the best practice in JavaScript is, even though you don't have anything that comes after this, you should have a comma like this in objects. Why, I'm not really sure, but that's the way it is, apparently. Okay, so a root reducer with a capital R, of course, not a small r, and then we are good to go. And I will just format my code again, and it adds the semicolons and everything for me, so I don't have to type them myself. So we have the initial state and we have the root reducer. The root reducer doesn't do anything yet, but we're trying to do this as simple as possible. Now finally we want to configure the store. So we go into the configure store file, and here we want to import from React Redux, no, from Redux, sorry, create store. It's a module, and therefore we need to wrap it in curly brackets like this, right? So we need to import this guy, and then we need to import the root reducer that we just created. And we want to import this from dot slash reducers root reducer. There we go. Okay, and so now we want to create a function. So we say const configure store equals a function like this, and here we just say return create store, which is the function that we just imported from Redux, and as an argument we just pass in the root reducer like this. And then we need to export this baby as well, because we will be using this later. Configure store, there we go. Right, so we created the initial state, we created the root reducer, and we created the configure store. And again, this is one way of doing things. You could, in principle, in this reducer, not set the initial state here. You could take this state and pass it into configure store as the second argument here. But it's just a matter of flavor, I guess, or taste. Not flavor, taste. Taste, that's what I mean. Anyway, that's what I want to do. And now we have the setup pretty much done in terms of Redux. And I want to emphasize this, that this is the setup that you need to do configuration wise, the bare minimum. So it's not that super tough. It's 3 files, one where you set the state, one where you create the reducer, and then where you create the store. And that's basically it. But now you need to connect your application to Redux, and that is being done in the index file, which is, as you remember, the main entry or the connection between your HTML file and your React application. That is the component, or the well, it's not really a component, but it's the top level that will be accessed in the beginning. Then everything else will be children of that file, or dependent on it, because this one connects the root div with these components that you are using here, the classic app in this case. So here we want to tell our application to import from React Redux, which is the second library that we added as a dependency, a module, or a component rather, that is called provider. And that's just the way it is. And then as the next thing, we want to import from our own configuration that will be just dot. It's in the source. Right. We want to get this configure store from state store and then configure store. That's the thing that we just created, and we need it here. So we're going to say configure store like this. Configure. There we go. Configure store. Right. So we have those two dependencies in here, and now we want to say const store equals configure store, which is a function. So we just invoke it here. And then here we want to add this as a component. So provider like this. And then we just pass this store that we created on line 8 as a property. So we will say store equals curly brackets store, and then close this guy like this. And now we need to take this classic app in this case and place it in here. So the provider is wrapping the component that we will be displaying. So provider, configure store, and then we need to create this store, and then we need to have our main component being wrapped around this provider component with store as a property, or as a prop. And for demo purposes, what I will do now is to say this window.store equals store. You don't need this for anything but demonstration. If you want to check manually if this if this setup actually worked or not. And quite often in Cypress, you can use this also for manual debugging. But if with this setting now, what I can do is to start the application, and hopefully that doesn't blows my computer up. Hopefully it should work. Right, I'm on 85%, so that wasn't that actually. I'm on very high CPU load anyway. But if we start our app, we're spinning up the application, the development server, and I should be able to pull this browser over to this screen. We can make it a little smaller, I guess. Let's see if this takes forever or if it works or not. So it's loading the this thing. I got a little bit of warnings, but that's not a problem. And we got these users. You remember we used this a while back to fetch those users from the API. But what is interesting at this stage is not what you see on screen, but it's actually what you don't see on the screen. So what we can do is we can take a look at the window.store object. And the window store contains a few things now. It has a dispatch, get state, replace reducer, and subscribe. We don't have to worry about any of that apart from the get state function. So if I now do windows.store.getState, and that is a function, so I just add these things, we will see the hello world greeting. Do you see that, people? So what that tells me is that the store actually works. I can access it in my console, and so the configuration of Redux was done properly, because that is my initial state. That's what I wanted to do. So the next step is now that I know that the configuration is okay, is to connect my application state to my component. It is already connected to the app, but now I need to connect it to a specific component if I want to display it one way or another. Okay, so what I will do now, and I can have this server up and running in the background, it doesn't really matter. I will go over here to my source, and I will just create a new file, and I will call this connected component. Does anyone want to say something or what? No? No? Okay. Connected component, and I will give it JSX as a suffix, and now I will just say React class RC. No? Yeah. Export component. Right, let's try that. Right. Get lost. There we go. So we have a class component here, right? And so in my, and I will just say hello world here, hello world, and I will go into my index.js thing, and I will import that component in here. So connected component, and then we'll say connected. Oops, shit. Connected component. Right, and instead of displaying this classic app, I will just display the the connected component right at this stage. Again, this is a demo only, so we will see here failed to compile while import. Why are you saying? Right, so it says hello world, right. We got that, and I'm just going to change the again for demo purposes in this initial state I will say hello world from Redux like this. So the greeting is not hello world because we already used that. We will say that in a slightly different way. Okay, so so in order to connect this component to Redux, you know, to actually subscribe to a little bit of state, we need to import a module from the React Redux library that is called connect. From React Redux like this, and here we need to say export default connect like this, and then just wrap this in parentheses, and it's connect and not connect like this. This is the connection that we need to do between our application in React and the React Redux library, so that we are even it's even possible for us to get the application state, to subscribe to the application state. And so another thing that we need to do outside of the class is to map state to props, which is what you asked me about earlier today, Anya. So I will say const map state to props, map state to props, right? And that will be a function that takes state like this, and the only thing we want to do here is to say return, at this stage at least, return an object, and we will just call let's see, we will say greeting will be the state dot greeting like this. That's one way of doing this. There are multiple ways of doing that. Right. And so unfortunately, the next thing we need to do is to pass this map state to props function into the connect function here. So we will have to say map state to props like this. Yes, and here, instead of saying hello world, we want to say props greeting. And if I've done everything, no, sorry, this dot props dot greeting. Exactly, because it's a class component. I keep forgetting that. So if I've done everything correct now, this should in principle display nothing, because props is not defined, because I forgot about one single thing. No, we didn't. Okay, no, it's all right. Right, so we got hello world from Redux here, as you can see. So now we are using that that state and displaying it on the page, because we are kind of subscribing to it with the connect function and mapping whatever we want from state to our own local variables that will be bound to these props. And if you think that this sounds like a lot, then it is a lot, and there are much simpler ways to do this nowadays, and that is using hooks. Yes, yes, I think that's what I had to say uh, about that at this stage. There are, of course, many other things we need to cover, but any questions on this so far, people?
So that was the so that was the original way to do it, but you're saying that now the simpler way is to use hooks.
Yes, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay.
And the only difference is, and we will do that. So I will keep this connected component, and I will create another one. So I'm going to create one that is called, let's say, hooked component .jsx, and I will just do this Royal Air Force. No, yeah, Royal Air Force Central Europe. Why isn't that popping up? There we go. And so here I will just do. So I'm gonna display the same thing and do the same thing as I did in this connected component, but in this hooked component using hooks. So the only thing I just to, as a proof of concept, I will just import this component hooked component from this one, right? And so I'm gonna display it right underneath the connected component. There we go, right. So and this one doesn't do anything, but I will just say hello from hook component. So you see what it looks like in each, right. So you say, we have this connected component here, and then we say hello from hooked well, it's misspelled, but it doesn't matter because I will remove it now anyway. So here I want to say import from React Redux something called use selector, and here I will just say const greeting equals use selector, and here I just say so in here state returns the entire the state dot greeting, right. So const greeting will be use selector state greeting, and now I just want to display greeting. Right, and so now we see hello world from Redux twice. You understand? So this is how fast you can do this using hooks instead of the old style. I mean, this is the difference. You do the same thing in here as you do in here, but it's much faster and much more convenient for you. So everything that we did with connect and map state to props is done using this use selector hook nowadays. Does that make sense?
Yes. In the case of Tassilo's project,
Mm-hmm.
is it then better to still stick with the like previous method
No,
that you
no,
just
no, no,
showed?
no, because we can do this. We can do this with a hook as well in a class component. I haven't done it before, so let's try. Let's try that. Let's if we just get rid of all of this, right? And we say use. I'm not sure you can do this actually, selector, but I think you can. Well, it's worth trying, right? So if we just say const greeting equals use selector. Oh, apparently you can't do that. No, you can't do that. No, no, you can't do that. No. Called in a React function. No, it can only be called in a function component. Okay, no, yeah. So the answer is yes. You need to do this old way if you want to keep the class components. Uh,
Okay, okay.
yeah, so that sucks, but it is what it is. I mean, it is much more code, and it's harder to read. But don't be fooled by this example alone, because this is a very very simple example, and one could always argue that, yeah, but Thomas, how about if you want to subscribe to much more of the state and then all of this stuff, right? Then it will eventually yield more lines of code, of course, but you can always simplify stuff, and there's in my opinion, hooks both for React and for React Redux are really really good. So I would definitely encourage us to refactor stuff from the current project that we're working on, and move away from class components altogether. Um,
Okay, awesome. I mean, it's a bigger task, but still, that's a good.
mm,
Sounds like a good direction.
yeah, and you can also destruct this guy, so you can simplify this by wrapping this in curlies, and then you can remove it from here, and that will be even simpler. So if you want to include more than just this greeting, then you can pass this on as like a another variable like this. But we don't have anything else in state at this stage, so we can't really do it. But this will also work, you know. Yeah. Right. Right. Any other questions at this stage, folks?
Mm. Yeah.
Go ahead. Sure. Sure.
No,
Shoot.
I was just wondering, in Tassilo's project, he made a file because he used the old way with dispatching objects with
Mm-hmm.
a type.
Mm-hmm.
And he made a file like listing all the types
Yeah.
actually, and all that's happening is that he exports all those types. And I was just wondering if in that let's say in that mindset, not using hooks, if that's best practice. And he basically seems to have used it in order to keep the overview, and also because he probably just picked it up from a tutorial. But I was just wondering.
Yeah. So that method of intermediary storing all actions, which are strings in the when they are dealt with in the in the reducer, they need to be strings because we need to take a closer look at them. But then you import, you kind of import them, um, into a file like called actions. We can actually pull that up on screen so we can see what we're talking about. Um, GitHub Agile Ventures. There it is. I'm not a great fan of using that, but I do understand why it's being used. Mostly because yeah, people do pick it up in tutorials, and there is like a history of why that came about, because it was present in the original documentation of Redux. Um, I am not convinced that the reasoning behind this is good. Uh, so what he's doing is doing this like export constant set authenticated, and he sets it to a string value that is exactly the same as the constant, but this is a string and this is this is a constant. Uh, and the only good explanation I've heard why you want to do this is because if you do it like this, then your IDE will autocomplete this for you, and you will not make any typos. Do you understand? There is no other reason uh, to do this. Uh, you could also argue that what you just said, that by having them all listed here, you have like an overview of them, because you can group them perhaps in various groups, and then you have add some comments and stuff. But it's really I don't really buy into that argument too much. Um, but I do see um, a value in having your Emmet or your IntelliSense autocomplete and give you those pop-ups. But then again, on the negative side, you have to then import it wherever you use it. Do you understand? There's an extra import that needs to be written, and that is something that I don't like so much personally, and therefore I'm not doing that at all. Does that make
Okay.
kind of sense?
Yes, I think I'm still I think I'm still a little bit struggling as to, first of all, like the different ways, especially now with the hooks. And I think still coming from Vue.js, I'm still looking for that very central, easy way to see what exactly is happening.
Mm.
Because it's always reflected in the Vuex store normally, or like the way I did it.
Hmm.
I think that's why I'm still looking for kind of a way
Gotcha,
of.
gotcha. So these actions here are not really about you know accessing the store or getting the data from it. It's more about a very specific setting in to make things happen, to actually modify the store, right? And
Mhm.
in my opinion, I didn't include that in this demo, because it's an in again in my opinion an unnecessary distraction. It's an intermediate storage of this, and connecting this string with the constant. The reducer will not understand this. The reducer needs the value, and the value needs to be a string. That's the
Mhm.
way it is. So it's just an unnecessary thing. But what I would say about clarity, which is more important in my opinion, uh, the use of hooks creates much more clarity, in my opinion,
Hmm.
humble opinion, than this. Right? This is way more unintuitive in the way I look at it. It adds way too much complexity. Um, but there are a few caveats on all of this, of course, and the Vuex. I think it's called. What is it called in Vue? I think it's
Yeah,
Vue.
it's Vuex. Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. It takes a slightly different approach to managing the state, um, but it has its downsides as well. So uh, it is always gonna be a bit complicated. Using application state does add a layer of complexity, that is totally unnecessary for a Hello World application or for an application that uses very simple state objects. But when we are dealing with this, level of complexity with a lot of things that will be managed by state and modified by application state, then Redux comes in to play very well. And at this stage, when you do like, you have like 50, 60 actions, then you would probably think that Vuex is also complicated, because it's like, simple state, then you basically juggle with two or three balls, right? And if you have 20, 30 properties, then, with every property, it becomes harder and harder to gain an overview of the whole thing, right? So it is what it is. But I do understand your comment. View initially seems easier, but then again,
No, actually, the Vuex store is more complex than hooks, I would say, but it just but I don't know hooks well enough to really compare. Just that my
yeah,
gut feelings was that Vuex kind of, if you do it properly, it adds some complexity, but then it keeps all the logic in one place, which is kind of just for organizational, I guess, purposes, makes you feel a bit safer.
yeah. Yeah, no, I totally get that. I totally get that. But here, what you need to, you know, basically consider, or the way I try, because it's a bit chaotic. But then again, all programming is at some point. I just think that, like, you want to keep the reducer uh, fairly simple, and you want to extract things into sub reducers and then combine them, so they are like uh, grouped by domain, or what they are supposed to do. I don't know if he has done it. We can have a look at that. Reducers, yeah, UI user data reducer. Okay, so he's using different reducers. Let's have a look here. Import from types. You see this import here. Uh, then you have initial state, info this state, initial state action, switch. This is kind of the same thing. But why is he using three reducers? I don't know. And he's not here right now, no. Uh, default state. Right.
Yeah, just they seem to be separated by type of
Right.
um,
Okay. Right.
functionality, kind of.
Yeah, I would combine those three into one. That's, in my opinion, a better. Or yeah, yeah. So you see, if you read through this code, he's done very much the same thing that I've done in this very basic application or basic demo. You have the initial state, you have this reducer, um, export default function state. Okay, so it's he's not naming them. Okay, so what is he exporting? Let me see this. Store types. Uh, middle user. Okay. Okay, so he's importing them here, and here he's combining the reducers. Okay, right. So he's also importing create store. The I didn't show you combined reducers because this is introductory demo, and you have the apply middleware. And why does he use that? Middleware is Thunk. Okay, so he's using Thunk, which is a way to create asynchronous actions. That's, it's also not an introductory topic. Uh, but here he sets initial state to an empty object. That's weird why he does that, but that's okay, I guess. And then he's doing this compose, and that's, yeah, whatever. Uh, right, and you see, I told you that you don't have to pass in this initial state into the root reducer as I did here. You might as well do it directly in this configure store. So we could have this as a second argument of the create store, which is exactly what he has here, right? And then he has an enhancer uh, that I am not very familiar with, so I don't know what it does really, to be totally honest. But he is doing basically, I mean, all of these steps needs to be done somewhere, but he took a different approach on where to do these. But all the same things that we did in a very simple Hello World demo are also present in Tassilo's code in Senf. Uh, it's just done, in different places. I have a question here from Carlos about what strict mode is, and then he adds that he's a React newbie, and the reason why I'm mentioning that is that strict mode is not a React thing. It's a JavaScript thing. It has to do with how JavaScript deals with global components and local no, global variables and local variables, and you basically tell the interpreter not to be fault tolerant, and that's all I can say about it today, because otherwise we need to go into demo mode and I would have to show you difference between strict and not non-strict mode
Thomas,
later on. Yeah, go ahead.
what would index.js look like without strict mode?
Oh, very simple. Basically like this.
Is it just exactly the same, just you to get rid of those two lines?
Yeah.
Okay, thanks.
And it has no bearing at all for our application. It would work exactly the same. So there is no reason for us to have strict mode enabled on this app. It's just that it's a good practice, and that's why the creators of this scaffold, create React app, adds it as a default setting. I think we often remove that, to be honest. You see, the application works anyway without strict mode, so that's the same thing.
Thank you.
All right, folks. I promised you to show you a Redux as simple as I possibly could, and I think I did that. What I didn't show you is how we can update the state in any way, but we are running a little bit out of time, so we won't be covering that today. But at least we got to see Redux in action, both in a class component and a functional component. So, Carmen, did you learn anything today?
I did. I was actually going through also at the same time reading the Redux. Um, I have a quick question.
Go ahead.
You said that we can only use the connect with classes, but what if I have like a function? Can I use connect with functions?
So connect can be actually used. Um, let's see.
Either way,
Yeah,
basically. I can use
connect can be used with both functional component and class component. However, the hook use selector cannot be used on a class component.
on classes. Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that's awesome. Okay,
Good
thank you for the
clarification, because I
clarification.
did that did not come across in my talk, so that was a very good question. Absolutely.
Thank you,
All
thank
right.
you.
And how about the Icelandic Viking? Did you learn anything today?
Yeah, and I'm sure it'll all become much more clear when I watch it the second and third time.
Absolutely. And when you actually code this, okay?
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Anya, did you pick up anything valuable today?
Yes, and I will probably still take a bit of time to redo that tomorrow morning and see whether I have the time to try and start actually applying it, or at least writing tests, trying to write tests. Oh my God, lowering my expectations
All right. Good stuff.
for the
Don't don't
project.
don't lower them too much, though. Don't lower them too much.
Yeah.
Shima, welcome. I didn't notice that you came in. How you doing?
I'm alive.
You are definitely. How
Yeah.
did you catch anything of the of the demo?
Yeah, I did a little bit, but I'll be mostly watching over again tomorrow.
Good stuff. We switched to a different way of hosting those sessions, and the kids are apparently enjoying the ability to draw on my screen. So just so you, in case you wonder what's going on, that's the
Yeah,
kids.
I was trying to figure out, what was happening.
Yeah, yeah. That's the younglings. That's that's the younglings.
I
Uh,
understand.
uh, Clark. Oh yeah, exactly. Yeah, you came in with your
Boy.
own name today, not even incognito.
Well, yeah, because I'm still not used to this, so I don't know my way around it yet.
Good, good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for today. I'm beat. I need to go. I need to get something to eat and get my beauty sleep. Um, and if you happen to be in Gothenburg in November, the you're more than welcome to join my 50th birthday. Of course you are. There is an open invitation to all Agile Ventures members. Okay?
Thank you for
Thank
that.
you.
All
And
right.
thanks for the session.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Thank you.
All right. And Twitch, thank you